Fitzpatrick is no scrub. Fitzpatrick can play. I think Fitzpatrick is better than average in terms of the talent at the quarterback position. I think there are a multitude of situations where you can point to in his career where putrid performances weren't necessarily his fault, because you had things happening that, mitigating circumstances that may have influenced him statistically. But the reality is that his career record is 50-71 as a starter. When you look at the various places that he's been a quarterback in the National Football League, just go down the list. In Buffalo for 4 years, 20-31 as a starter. In Cincinnati, for 14 games, 13 games, 4-7-1, 12 games actually, 4-7-1 as a starter. With the New York Jets, 13-14 as a starter. With St. Louis, certainly wasn't his fault there, but 0-3 as a starter. Tampa, he's got a winning record. Houston, he had a 500 record. Some of those losses weren't his fault. But in the end, when we look at a quarterback in the National Football League, every situation is not going to be ideal. It comes down to what can you do to make up for the deficiencies or the mistakes of others around you. That's not Ryan Fitzpatrick. So when I look
Jameis Winston
I'm getting there. I'm getting to my point. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that at the end of the day, Jameis Winston is 24 years of age. He's growing. He's improved completion percentage-wise over the last few years. Let's not also negate the fact that, again, he knows the system. He is healthy. It's not like he's hurt or anything like that. He's suspended, and it was over something that happened a couple of years ago. In the end, when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am in no way saying that you bench Ryan Fitzpatrick now. What I'm saying is my mentality for the first 2 games was saying if Ryan Fitzpatrick looks like that, Jameis Winston is your future, but you keep Ryan Fitzpatrick in there for the rest of this season. But what I saw in that second quarter last night, which to me it's typical to some degree of Ryan Fitzpatrick, I am of the mentality you take it now on a game-by-game basis. He shows up next week. I start him next week. He shows up next week, and he plays like that again, I'm putting Jameis Winston up in there.
What was the Bucs record? I'm sorry, 1 second. What was the Bucs record last year? 5-11. What's the difference with the team this year? Same weapons out there. He won 5 games all season. Fitzpatrick could easily be 3-0 right now.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I think there's 2 different questions, and I like the fact that you brought it up, Stephen A. Are we talking about this week versus the Bears on a short week, or are we talking about the rest of the season? And when you look at this week, despite the second quarter of last night's game, I think the second quarter of last night's game is the reason why I start Ryan Fitzpatrick. There was no panic in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There was no panic in Ryan Fitzpatrick. He brought them back in the second half. And it's not Ryan Fitzpatrick, even with the 3 turnovers, it's not his fault they lost the game. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Godwin drops 2 balls in the end zone. He fumbles the ball on an Artie Burns hits. There were plays that Ryan Fitzpatrick made throughout the night where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't help him out. You have a short week. Jameis Winston, even though he's been training with George Whitfield, he hasn't had that in-helmet perspective. If Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't playing good ball, of course you bring Jameis Winston back. But did you listen to Dirk Cutter last night? Listening to Dirk Cutter after the game let me know all I needed to know. If Aaron Rodgers is out and you ask Mike McCarthy on a week he's coming back, how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers coming back? Dude's going to be happy, right? He's going to talk about all the things that Aaron Rodgers can bring to the team.
Right.
They're going to say Aaron Rodgers is the franchise. If Ben Roethlisberger's out, you do the same thing. Tom Brady, he would have the same reception, but Bill Belichick's his coach, and we know how that goes. You know what he said? When they said Jameis Winston was coming back, we're excited because Jameis Winston is a member of our team.
Not the leader,
not the
guy.
leader of our team, not our dude. He's a member of our team.
And that was premeditated to use those exact words.
Ryan, I think of Jameis, the one thing that he does seem to have, at least on the field, is he does seem to be a leader. He seems to have the aura of a franchise quarterback. My issue is I don't see the accuracy down the field. Like, that's an essential skill point.
That's been the difference with this team the first 3 weeks as opposed to last year. Coming into the season with O.J. Howard, Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans, we thought we would see a downfield passing attack. And we thought that because Jameis Winston, to us, was a franchise quarterback at that time. He didn't show the accuracy downfield. He didn't show the big playability that we thought that he'd have. Now, in the preseason, he played well. And I think eventually in this season, we will see Jameis Winston, and I believe he can be productive. But you don't take Ryan Fitzpatrick out right now. You don't put him on the bench for Jameis Winston until it's a necessity. And as long as he's playing the way he's playing, he still threw for over 400 yards last night, Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You're saying what you're saying because of on-field stuff or off-field stuff? Because when I heard Dirk Cutter, What comes to my mind is Jameis Winston having some growing up to do and not putting the organization in situations where we have a franchise quarterback, the face of our franchise, supposedly a leader that we cannot rely upon. I don't hear Dirk Cutter saying, you know what, Ryan Fitzpatrick is better than Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is the guy that needs to take a step back because we're looking at this guy and we think he's better. I think that there is as a matter of fact, I've spoken to a few people that say to me, there's a dissipated level of trust. So I'm asking you,